The night the forest chose a friend, it was a quiet evening in the small countryside town of River. The sun had already sunk below the hills, leaving behind streaks of orange and purple in the sky. Alan, a 38-year-old carpenter, was walking back home after a long day. He lived alone at the edge of the forest, in a small wooden house he had built himself. Alan wasn't afraid of the woods, he had grown up near them, but something about that night felt different. The air seemed heavier, and every sound echoed like a warning. As he walked past the dense trees, he suddenly heard a cry. Not a human grion, animals. It was sharp, pained, and desperate. Alan froze. His first instinct told him to keep walking. Don't get involved, his mind whispered, but his heart pushed him toward the sound. He carefully stepped off the path, holding only a small flashlight. The cries grew louder, filled with fear, and then, just ahead, Alan saw it. A wolf, caught in a rusty metal trap. The animal thrashed wildly, teeth bared, eyes glowing in panic. Alan's breath caught in his chest. He had heard of wolves near the forest, but never thought he'd face one this close. For a moment, his hands trembled. If I go near, it might attack me. But then he noticed something that pulled at his heart. The wolf wasn't just fighting the trap. She was glancing behind her, as if protecting something hidden. Alan crouched low, shining his light carefully, and there they were. Two tiny wolf pups, shivering behind the bushes. Alan's heart softened. The mother wasn't fighting for herself. She was fighting for them. Gathering all his courage, he whispered gently, "Easy, easy, girl. I won't hurt you." The wolf snarled at him, eyes fierce, but exhaustion was already weighing her down. Alan pulled out his toolbox, something he always carried, and began working on the trap. His hands moved fast, but careful, every click of the metal echoing in the silent night. Finally, the trap gave way. The wolf stumbled free, her leg bleeding, her body trembling. Alan quickly backed away, giving her space. He expected her to lunge, to attack in fear. Instead, she collapsed onto the ground, panting heavily. Alan knew if he left her like this, she might not survive. His heart warred with his mind. It was dangerous, but something inside him whispered, "She trusted you enough to stay." So Alan did something no one in town would ever dare. He lifted the wounded wolf into his old cart, the pups following close, and took them home. The days that followed, Alan cleaned the wolf's wound, fed her scraps of meat, and laid blankets by the fireplace. At first, she growled and kept a distance, but hunger and weakness slowly broke her walls. Her pups, however, warmed up quickly, playful, curious, circling around Alan's boots like mischievous shadows. Nights were filled with a strange silence. Alan often wondered, what am I doing, a wolf, inside my home? Yet each morning, when he saw the pups curled beside the fireplace and the mother wolf resting with calmer eyes, his doubts melted away. Days turned into weeks. The wolf grew stronger. She still carried a wildness in her gaze, but Alan felt something shift, an unspoken bond. One night, as he sat by the fire carving wood, the wolf quietly came closer and lay beside him. Alan didn't move, but in that moment, he realized trust had been born. 1 month later, a violent storm swept through river. Trees bent under the furious wind. Lightning cracked the sky, and the forest roared like a beast. Alan was inside, fastening the shutters, when he heard another sound. Shouts, human voices. Peering outside, he saw 2 hunters near his property. They were searching, rifles in hand. Alan overheard their words through the storm. That wolf's been sighted again. She won't get away tonight. Alan's blood ran cold. He rushed back inside. The mother wolf, sensing the danger, was already standing tall, her pups hidden behind her. Their eyes met, and Alan felt the weight of her fear. Without a second thought, Alan blew out his lantern, opened the back door, and pointed toward the hills. "Go," he whispered. "No." The wolf hesitated. Rain lashed against her fur. Thunder cracked above. She looked at Alan one last time, her golden eyes holding something almost human. Gratitude. Then, with a swift leap, she and her pups vanished into the night. Moments later, the hunters banged on Alan's door. "Seen a wolf, Asierte?" they demanded. Alan shook his head, calm but firm. "Just me, in the storm." They left, grumbling, disappearing into the dark. Alan closed the door, his heart pounding. His house felt empty for the first time in weeks. He sat by the fire, listening to the storm rage on. For a moment, loneliness crept in, but deep inside, he knew he had done the right thing. Weeks later, when the forest bloomed to the spring, Alan walked the familiar path home. The woods were alive with birdsong and sunlight. As he neared his house, he froze. There, at the edge of the trees, stood the wolf, healthy, strong, her fur glistening in the light. The two pups had grown, their eyes bright with mischief. Alan didn't move. His heart pounded. The wolf didn't come closer, but she bowed her head, a gesture that sent tears stinging his eyes. Then, with her pups at her side, she disappeared into the forest once more. Alan smiled through the tears. The bond remained unbroken by distance. True love and friendship are not bound by language, appearance, or fear. Sometimes, the greatest connections are born in moments of risk, when we choose compassion over fear, kindness over safety. When we give trust, even to the wildest of hearts, it has a way of returning, forever changing us.